Kaleidoscope. I'm here with my wonderful guest, Judge Deborah Thomas. Thank you for coming, Judge.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. This is going to be a great show. We are on 910 AM Superstation, Adele radio broadcast. We're going to jump right into our topics today. Actually, I want the listeners and the viewers to know I'm about to start a series on sex and law. Today's series is going to be very mild-mannered because the judge here, she's a believer. She's a church girl, and we don't want anybody to question her chastisement. Therefore, today we're going to be mild, but next week we're going to go in, and we're going to go in hard, and we're going to go in raw, okay?
Yeah, I won't be here for the raw.
She will not. But all is well. And again, I'd like to say thank you for coming, Judge.
My pleasure.
I'd like to start off by talking about statutory rape. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions about the area of statutory rape. And quite frankly, there are some things I simply don't agree on in the law with statutory rape. Can you tell our audience what is statutory rape and what is your position?
Well, first of all, we no longer call it statutory rape. We call it criminal sexual conduct, okay? It's a little fancier name. And basically, it's a situation where a person is too young by age to consent to having sexual activity.
Absolutely.
And sexual activity could also be an offensive touching or something of that nature.
So what's an offensive touching? If I hit you on the shoulder, if I grab your butt, what's an offensive touching? Because some people offend a little easier than others.
Well, basically, we're looking for activity that is touching areas of the body that one would generally have clothed by underwear.
Okay.
All right. And we look at...
so it's not offensive if I touch you over your clothes?
It can be. It's the area of the touching that is the major concern.
Gotcha.
All right. And then it also addresses that it's supposed to be a touching for sexual gratification. So if you bump up against somebody because you're trying to get into the elevator and it's crowded, that's one thing. I can remember a time when I was at a sporting event and I went to to buy, hot dogs and potato chips. And I'm standing there and all of a sudden I'm feeling someone that's squeezing on my behind. Okay, now that's what you call criminal sexual conduct.
Did you press charges, Judge?
Or
did you like it?
It was crowded. So I decided I would take my shoe and grind it into the toe of the shoe behind me. And no one yelled. So I figured I must have got the right person.
You did. That was probably an assault, but it was self-defense. Self-defense.
If they could take it, they should be able to
dish it out.
Yeah.
And most men can't, to be quite honest. They want to dish out everything and can't take nothing. They're just big babies.
Well, I know I wore that toe out.
All right now. All right, so we're going to keep it moving. What is the age limit for the criminal sexual conduct, also known in the community as the statutory rape?
16.
And so tell us more.
Well, if the person's, even if a person is not 16 years of age, if they're 15 or younger, even if they say yes, even if they say, I want to do this, if I'm going along with it, by law, if they're not 16 or older, they cannot legally consent. And we've had situations where we've had young girls who may have been 15 and pregnant, and so somebody knows something happened, and the young girl may not want to tell, okay, this is who I was involved with, and sometimes we run into that. And sometimes it's the parents who prosecute.
Absolutely.
All right, because the young lady is not the one she's not unhappy. She agreed to it, but the parents are at sub, and the parents will force it. Sometimes we don't realize this activity is taking place until the young girl has arrived at the hospital and is delivering.
Yes, I've had that happen on my case before too.
But it's not just girls. Okay, it could be a boy who's 14. It could be a boy who's 13. It could be a boy who's 15.
Okay.
So it's not just girls. The key thing is the age. You have to be 16 or older in the state of Michigan in order to legally consent to sexual activity.
Okay, is that a strict liability crime? And if it is, what does strict liability mean?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think your folks know what strict liability is.
You're going to educate them as well as explain what the terminology
is. When we talk about strict liability, we're looking at it from, I didn't know, is no excuse. All right? And there have been situations where, and this is where people really need to be careful. They may go on to the Facebook or some of these other programs, and young people will overdress, over makeup, all right, and will tell you they're 22.
Absolutely.
And when you look at them, say, oh, she lying, she's 26 at least. All right, and then you interact with these people. You meet somebody at a club who shouldn't have been in the club in the first place.
Absolutely.
And they will tell, and some of them have IDs.
And that's my issue with the law, is why I vehemently disagree with it and wish there were a process, because I've seen 15-year-olds whose body I was envious of. I mean, they had it here and there and everywhere, and their makeup was flawless and their weave was to their butt. And I'm trying to figure out, where's your mother? Why did she let you out of the house? And certainly, I thought that she was at least mid-20s, and I later learned that she's far younger. Yes. So I think that for some of these young boys, the strict liability is wholly unfair, because these girls, they go out oftentimes, and they're fast, as sometimes we used to say.
And sometimes they're predatory.
Yes.
Sometimes they're predatory. Sometimes they have issues of their own. They're striking back. They are actively soliciting. Yes. And they think the whole thing is a joke. They think it's all funny. And there are individuals, I mean, you have to be responsible.
Yes.
And so if you, and then you ought to know somebody. Okay, you want to know my position?
Yes, what's your position?
You ought to know somebody more than one day, okay, before you decide to have sex with them.
Well, now with plenty of fish and black people meet, one day is the standard.
Oh, please.
Okay, if you're waiting over one day, you're a prude, you are saved, you are conservative.
Yeah, well, I'm not on my way to jail either.
Or hell.
I mean,
how about that?
Give you time enough to at least get to know the person.
My middle name, my last name. I'm not talking about a finger index, but could you ask some basic questions about me? But these young girls, they don't see that. But on the flip side, what I do not like about the promiscuous girl, these grown men who molest these children, and then they come to court and they say, well, Attorney Reed, you should have saw her. She's my niece, yes, but she came on to me. And when I was in the dining room, she walked through the dining room in her underwear, and she was so fast, and she just wanted me to have it. And then I asked, okay, if she'd have walked in with a pack of heroin, a needle, and a rope tied to her arm and said, shoot me up, would you have done that? Okay. So oftentimes we use the promiscuity, the men use it as a defense mechanism when they have molested and or had sex with individuals who they lusted after based on their own sickness and mental health issues, and then they try to put it on the young girls. The only time I'm forgiving of it is the Romeo and Juliet.
Now, that's another one, and we do have the Romeo and Juliet statue. All right, and that's a situation where we have teenagers.
Yes.
Now, I have always been opposed to the high school situation where you have the 8th graders in with the 12th graders. Okay, because the age difference.
Yes.
The age difference. And everybody wants the seniors.
And hormones are raging.
All right, and so I don't think that they should be mixed. I think 10, 11, 12, because 9th graders, I don't think 9th graders should be mixed in with 12th graders.
I agree.
So I've always expressed, some hesitation in terms of mixing that populace. Let's start 10, 11, 12. Let's leave it at that.
Okay, yes.
And so, it can be a problem with the older guys, and sometimes when we talk about the young people being promiscuous, it's because as children, they have been molested.
Absolutely, Judge. I don't know if you know my background. I was a social worker for 10 years prior to becoming a lawyer, and I've held so many crying babies. And what happens is their self-esteem is so low, and they feel their only value is their vagina, because that's all he wanted me for. The only time he looked at me, the only time father, uncle, brother, friend, cousin, neighbor touched me is when they found value in my vagina.
And then sometimes they don't realize or they don't appreciate that, like you say, self-esteem.
Yes.
That it's got to be about more than sex.
Yes.
It's got to be about more than sex. And they don't know the limitations because they weren't taught limitations. Boundaries.
Yes, absolutely.
And when they wanted to say no was not heard.
It was not an option.
It was not heard.
Absolutely. We're going to go to break again. I'd like to thank you. I'd like for my listeners to give me a call. 313-209-9000. 313-209-9000. We'd love to hear from you. Welcome back, and thank you for watching Legal Kaleidoscope. You guys can watch me on Facebook, like me, send me a question. If you want to be a guest on Legal Kaleidoscope, inbox me, tell me your comments, and tell me the topics that you would like to hear for our series of Sex and the Law. You can go to Facebook and just type in Legal Kaleidoscope. And Judge Thomas, are you doing anything in the media?
I have a television show that I have been doing for a number of years now. It's on WHPR. That's in the Detroit area. That's Comcast 20. They're starting to show up in Flint now. And I'm on every Saturday starting at noon. and it's a half-hour program. And it's kind of like what we're doing here. I try to bring on information. I try to center around nonprofit organizations. I try to tell folks if they need services, where they can get services. And then I try to give the nonprofit organizations a plug so that if they are doing an event or if they're looking for volunteers, things of this nature. So I've had the program for a number of years, and I enjoy it.
Well, that's great. Sounds like a great community resource.
Community service, that's my middle name, community service.
And long as you know, if ever you want to come over here, you're welcome to come to WADL and 910 AM Superstation.
I will keep that in mind.
We have a caller. We're going to go to the lines.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for calling. My name is Tatanisha. What's your name?
My name is Jill, and I have a question. How do we increase awareness for young adults when they find themselves in compromising situations? Many times they just don't know what to do. So how do we begin to increase awareness so that, they'll have an outlet and a way to turn?
Well, Jill, I think just what we're doing now to increase awareness, instead of every show that comes on television being so ratchet and everyone calling each other names and fighting and using the B word and the N word, and that's the only way we can get ratings. We support one another and we tell our young sisters and brothers what statutory rape is. Criminal sexual conduct. We educate the community, and people like you educate your family, you educate every young girl you come in contact with, and eventually this information will be disseminated amongst the masses.
I think also that we need to get back to supervising activity a little bit more.
Yes.
Okay, what happened to the group date that didn't splinter off?
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
And so then I think we have to encourage our young people to do group activities and to also explain to them, you don't want to put yourself into a situation where you may be faced with these types of choices. And so you avoid some situations to begin with.
Absolutely. Because, what the judge just said is really good, because oftentimes these young girls don't know how to say no. Because they like the boy. They like the attention. He's cute. He's popular. And they have hormones. So they think he can kiss, he can touch, and he can nibble, and he's going to stop.
Well, they think he's going to stop?
They do. Because our bodies are made so differently. I can kiss, I can touch, I can nibble, and I can stop.
Okay.
But often...
sex education in the schools. All right, sex education in the schools. Now, I know there's a shortage of funds, but we need to have sex education. And quite frankly, we need to have sex education in the church. Why not?
I 100% agree.
Why not?
Although the Word of God says flee fornication, oftentimes we don't flee fornication. Fornication is a part of our everyday life. So I 100% agree that we should.
And if we want our young people to flee it, then maybe we need to prepare them.
Yes.
By allowing them to know these are the types of situations you do not want to find yourself in. This is the type of activity you do not want to participate in. And that maybe you always want to have a girlfriend with you, or if a guy, okay, maybe you want your buddies with you.
Yes.
All right, so this needs to be taught.
But I think it's just a double-edged sword, though, because a lot of girls don't want to go on dates with other people. They don't want to go on dates with their buddy. You know, they want that individualized attention. They want that connection.
Well, at 16, you can make that decision, maybe.
Absolutely.
Okay, but if statutory rape begins, up until age 15, then at 15, you certainly don't have any input on that.
No, I would 100% agree. Quite frankly, I don't think girls should be dating at 15, but I am not. I feel I'm definitely the minority. I don't think these children at 10 should have cell phones, and at 5, and it's giving them too much unfettered access to the world. They're watching videos, they're texting and sexing and doing all that stuff.
And they think live TV, those programs where they talk about this is true life.
Yes.
They think that's the reality.
And it is not.
It's not reality. We have to let our young people know that what they see on TV is not how people are supposed to live. You're not supposed to be snatching your girlfriend by the hair and throwing her across the room.
And everybody ain't a bitch.
Okay, you don't have to call everybody out their name. That's not necessary. And so we need to let them know that reality TV is make-believe.
Yes, and oftentimes quite scripted. So thank you for calling, Jill. I hope we've answered your question well.
Well, you did very well. Thank you. And I do believe this is a perfect first step. However, there does need to be a higher level of awareness in this subject area. I wish I had it when I was in school. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thank you for calling. Okay, Judge. Let's continue on. Let's talk about marital rape. Oftentimes, people don't think that marital rape is a crime codified in the law.
But it is.
Let's talk about it. Can you tell our viewers?
And it's something new. I mean, in reality, people, and when I say new, let's say maybe like within the last 20 years, but we're a changing society. And women have stepped up and they're being heard more and they're speaking out more. And so there is now on the books, and it has been for a while, such thing as marital rape, non-consensual sex, even with a marital partner.
Wait, how do you reconcile that with the Bible? The Bible says that once I'm married, my body is no longer my own. So if you look at it that way, then my husband can snatch me up and take it whenever he feels, with or without my permission.
The Bible also says that the man should treat his wife as Jesus treats the church.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no snatching up, taking away, and misusing and abusing by Jesus of the church.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I would have to agree with that. So when does it become marital rape from just rough sex? What if she says, no, I don't want to do it? She says no a couple times, but she's kind of leaning in, and he kind of snatched her up a little bit, because some snatching up is going on, Judge. So I'm just trying to figure out, when does it become marital rape? You know, this whole new choking thing is out.
No means no. All
Okay.
right. And I think that tone of voice.
Okay.
All right. You know how sisters can put their hand on their hip and shake their head. Mm-hmm. All right, so she got her hand on her hip and shake her head.
That's when he tried to snatch her.
That's no means no.
Okay.
All right, and so you have to be definitive. And I think that it also is and somewhat assertive.
Yes.
All right, and no means no.
So when we define marital rape, is it the abuse, the actual physical assault? Is when she says no and he pushes her down, and does he have to hit her? Does he have to slap her? Does he have to rip her underwear? Or can she just say no and he take it very passionately? Is that still marital rape?
It does not have to be physical assault to be physical force in terms of maybe, I got to get you in the position where I can get you in so I can get what I want.
Yes.
All right, now, if the answer was no, that can be marital rape.
I really, really hope ladies are listening. And if you have
guys are listening.
And yes, you see, they do it all the time. I've had so many clients call my office, women crying whose husbands have literally raped them, torn their underwear, drugged them through the house because they didn't come home on time. But they call me and they never follow through. I think it's so much shame. It's so much guilt associated with the act itself.
Which is why it's important that both the men and the women are listening, so that the men understand that they cannot do this. This was not part of the marital vow.
Yes.
The law does not cover and protect this type of behavior. So maybe this is not what you want to do.
I think what you just said was so important. The judge said this is not part of the marital vow. Men, did you hear that? Not part. Negative. No, you cannot force her to have sex with you if she does not want to. And women, let's not provoke our men. Let's not walk around scantily dressed, talking smack, and then saying, I'm not going to do it. Because now you're provoking him, and then you both will end up in court. You're going to spend thousands of dollars for me to defend you. You'll come before this judge, and you might get convicted. So we just have to be really
I think if
clear.
the marriage is playing those types of games, y'all got problems. Y'all need to go see a counselor.
Yes, or come see me for a divorce.
Okay, which you're obligated to counsel before you divorce.
You're absolutely right.
All right, but counseling, those kind of games are damaging. Those types of games. I mean, the marriage has got issues.
Yes.
If we're going into those types of control.
Yes.
It's all about control.
Absolutely. Power and control. And oftentimes, rape is never about sex. Rape is always about power and control. And I 100% agree with the judge. I do believe in marital counseling. I do believe in every type of counseling that you may need in order to advance your relationship. You guys may need sex therapy if that's the case, if you're having all of these marital rape and sexual issues in your marriage. So we're going to go to break in a minute. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some human trafficking. Yes. We're going to talk about a case that I saw that was just absolutely ridiculous. And I want to share it with you guys to give you some extra information. Please give us a call. 313-209-9000. 313-209-9000. Welcome back, and thank you for watching Legal Kaleidoscope. When you look into the eye of the law, we all can see a different perspective. Let's talk about today's weather. Today, right now, it's 48, mostly cloudy. Tonight, 37. Tomorrow, 48, scattered showers, slightly cloudy. And this was brought to you by Weather Vision. All right, we're going to get right back into our topic. We have another guest. Welcome, Kimberly Lewis. How are you?
I'm great, thank you.
And thank you for coming. Thank you for joining in. I'd like to go ahead and bring you up to speed really quick. We initially talked about the criminal sexual conduct law, also known as, or formerly known as, the statutory rape. We talked about Romeo and Juliet. We talked about the marital rape aspect and the fact that you can be raped within a marriage. So, would you like to briefly comment on any of those issues?
Well, I do know that in marital rape, there are still about 25 countries that don't prosecute for that. Afghanistan being the leading one, surprise.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look at the cultural differences.
Right. As to the Romeo and Juliet law, it's still illegal for someone to have sex with a minor under 16. However, the Romeo and Juliet law, what it does is it doesn't make the individual, as long as there's 4 years difference, it doesn't make them have to register on the Sex Offender Act.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that, because we didn't talk about the registration, and most of the registration is definitely lifetime, and oftentimes
25 years.
Yes.
That's a lifetime.
Especially for young people.
Right,
Yes.
17 or 18. Yeah,
that's when you're in your
time.
prime. That's when you're doing the stuff you're not supposed to do anyway, and you need to stay under the radar.
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of people that who may have been placed on the sexual registry, who may have been involved in situations of consensual sex, with the age difference being 4 years, who can petition to come off of the sex registry. And a lot of people are not aware of that.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
right. And so if you find yourself in that type of a situation and you want to see whether or not you qualify, I mean, they've had people who've later married, have families.
Yes.
And want the spouses on the sexual registry.
Absolutely.
And it creates hardships and for employment and housing. So
Everything.
someone may, if they...
And public chagrin, just total embarrassment.
Yes. So those who have been previously convicted may want to see if they can petition the court to have their names removed from the registry.
Well, let me tell you about a couple that I saw in Hazel Park District Court. It was not my case, and I won't mention any names, but these guys should stay on the registry forever. I'm sitting in the gallery in Hazel Park District Court, and I'm looking at a guy who's charged with domestic violence, but he's also charged with homosexual act in public. But the domestic violence was seemingly against a woman, and he was charged with homosexual act in public. So I'm trying to understand it. So I finally just lean into the detective and I say, please tell me this story. The individual, his boyfriend was a transvestite, had breasts, but he also had a penis. He came home, caught his boyfriend cheating, dragged him outside, and took his clothes off so he could show the world that the girl was also a boy and had a penis. But what was so repulsing about this story is they both were HIV positive on Backpage. So they both knew that each other was on Backpage and that they were selling sex. But the cheating did not piss him off. What pissed him off to provoke him to domestic violence was because the mate didn't know. They allowed each other to have sex, but it was through Backpage. And Judge, my question for you...
So it's okay if you're having sex so long as you're getting paid for it.
Absolutely.
But don't give it away.
Exactly. So, to them at least. But my legal question that burns my britches is, how come they were not being prosecuted for being HIV positive and selling sex? How is it that you can be on Backpage and a detective or a person says, oh, the killer is their HIV positive? We used to prosecute for that.
We have to have a victim. So if the victim is not aware.
Right.
Okay.
If they're not aware, they're not bringing charges. If they don't know. So if you don't have a victim, then it's going to be difficult to prosecute.
Under a Public Safety Act or something, this has to be what's in the best interest of the public.
But I think too that the reason that you don't have a victim is because if you are, say, having consensual sex with a transgendered person who hasn't transitioned all the way, you might be a little embarrassed.
Just a little? I might be a lot embarrassed.
Well, it's just like having a menage a trois with 2 people instead of 3.
I think Attorney Lewis has redefined threesome, ladies and gentlemen. She's redefined it. Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about our human trafficking. We're going to talk about human trafficking.
I'm so glad I don't show blushing.
Well, I did read some stuff on human trafficking, and I found out Michigan strengthened their laws in 2006 and then again in 2010. And what they did in 2010 is make it easier for victims, to get restitution. Not only do they have to pay medical costs now, they have to pay for the loss of their life, the value that they had. And so that can be, you have to petition.
I think a lot of people don't necessarily understand the scope of human trafficking because, especially in our culture, a lot of times they think that we're talking about some form of enslavement. All right, where you've got somebody in the house and they've got to do the household chores. But we're also talking about prostitution. We're talking about prostitution, where individuals are kept against their will. Yes. They are forced to engage in that activity. They are not allowed to keep the money, all right, that they have earned for the person who is holding them hostage. And that is what we talk about more in human trafficking in this day and age when we say human trafficking.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There were 152 arrests. Not 152 arrests. There were 152 young individuals in 2015 who were saved in the state of Michigan for human trafficking. There were 12 pimps arrested. What I find to be ironic with this whole restitution, it was a local bar on 8 Mile. I'm not going to say the bar's name. I will say they're in between Southfield and Evergreen. And the owner of the strip club, he was Ukrainian. He and his son were bringing in girls from the other country. The Ukrainian women, under the guise of come to America for a new life. The girls thought they were coming for education. They thought they would get better housing, but they were sneaking them in illegally, and they would hold that over their heads. So one of the girls in the strip bar, she got away. She escaped with a patron, and that's when the FBI got involved and the sting happened. But the owner of the bar only received 3 years. His son received 14 and had to pay $1.5 million back. So with the restitution, I think what's kind of sad, sometimes if you're a wealthier person, you can barter your freedom with restitution, where if I go get a girl, I lock her up in my basement and make her have sex with everybody on my block because I don't have any money. I'll probably spend the rest of my life in jail. So I feel like that's kind of unfair because, again, I think classism is the new racism, and so many individuals who have money can buy their freedom.
But what I don't understand is this. The penalty is supposed to be 10 years to life. And if you have a bar and you are running a criminal enterprise trafficking women, why did you only get 3 years? He must have pled down to something.
I'm sure he did.
Yes.
I'm sure he did. But again, it's still the same.
And then you still may have the problem, too, with do you have a victim?
We had several victims, and they testified in Washington. We had several victims. They testified, and
they testified at the trial.
Yes, they testified at both levels. Okay. I actually was just reading on it. What I'll do if anybody wants to look it up, I'm not going to say the bar, but I'll spell the bar owner's name. VENIAMINGONIKMAN. He's 56, a naturalized U.S. citizen. If you want to go follow the story or look the story up to determine its validity, go ahead and Google him or Google strip club owner convicted for human trafficking, and I'm sure him and his bar will pop right up. And I say this not to put his business out there, but it's right here. It's in Michigan, this human trafficking.
Well, a lot of it increased after we got the casino activity. And a lot of women came to town because they figured there would be a lot more business and available.
Jobs, right.
A lot more jobs. And all of it is not as sophisticated as what you're saying. And then they've also had reports of where young girls especially become involved whenever there's a large activity, entertainment activity that comes to town. So it's a very sad scenario. And sometimes with the younger girls, they begin this process because they think they're going to be able to earn money, that they're going to keep, and they're going to be able to provide for themselves a lifestyle better than what they have at home currently. And once they get in the street, it sweeps them away.
Absolutely. And they're impoverished. Kim, did you want to say something?
Well, I wondered why the bar owner didn't lose the bar, because you're supposed to forfeit property from the crime.
The bar is still standing.
It may have been sold.
Probably. I mean, these are very rich people.
Absolutely.
And the name of the bar hasn't changed either, but I do know that the bar is, in fact, still standing. We have 4 Asian women that were arrested last week in Macomb County for prostitution out of a massage parlor. Did you hear about that, Kim?
No, I didn't.
Judge?
I saw the story on the news. I'm a strong believer in the presumption of innocence. And so until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, I am going to presume that they were behaving themselves in keeping with the law.
Absolutely, Judge.
Your Honor, as a criminal defense attorney, again, I 100% agree, and I take my hat off to the bedrock of the Constitution, and I believe those 4 Asian women at midnight in that massage parlor was only massaging heads.
And I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm not even gonna touch it.
I believe in the presumption of innocence. We have a caller. Let's go to the lines. Hi, thank you for calling Legal Kaleidoscope.
Hi, my name is Kai.
Hi, Kai. How are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Chicago.
Yes. What's your question?
My question is, what happens if I am a part of prostitution as a result of being kidnapped or trafficked, and I admit that to the police? Do they still prosecute me for prostitution, or do they offer me services?
It would depend, I believe, on whether or not you were forced into this. Were you forced into this?
Yes.
Then you are a victim. And if you go to the police and you tell their story, the people who have held you and profited from you will be arrested and hopefully go to prison for a long time.
And Kai, what I'll do, I'll offer you any free legal services that you need. My telephone number at my office is 248-228-8377. 248-228-8377. And if you'd like to talk today, my cell is 248-773-2979. Our judicial system oftentimes can blame the victim for their own victimization. However, I think we do a really good job when it comes to human trafficking and when it comes to exploitation of women. So if you or anyone you know are being taken advantage of and you have an opportunity to talk on the telephone, you definitely reach out to me and I will put you with the necessary authorities that you can be placed in a safe environment, that you don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. Kyle.
Even if you began voluntarily and the situation changed, that is still not a reason for you not to come forward and not to seek help. And even if you're doing this type of work voluntarily and you just want to get out of this occupation, there are still services that are available. Even in our courts, we have programs that we offer to women who want to get out of that lifestyle. And so either way, there's services and there's help available to you.
Yes, and thank you for calling, Kai. We're going to go to break. Hi, and welcome back. Thank you for watching Legal Kaleidoscope. When you look into the eye of the law, we all see a different perspective. Please watch us on television, WADL channel 38, 11 o'clock on Saturdays. Also, watch the judge on her television show. Judge?
I'm on WHPR TV, Comcast 20 here in the city of Detroit. We live stream, and I come on at noon.
And if you want to see Kim Lewis and you have a legal problem or a legal question, Kim, where can they find you?
You can find me at my office, which is area code 313-963-5310. And I practice criminal law exclusively, federal and state.
Okay. Kim, on the break, you told me you had resources or a resource for Kai in Chicago. If Kai is still listening or anyone in Chicago, please give them that resource.
The name of the organization is called Dream Catchers. It is run by a woman who was in the life where she was a prostitute for 25 years. And now she spends her time helping others get off the street. She does services at night, like pass condoms out to the people who are working. And she works with young girls at risk to prevent them from going into the life.
And it's Dream Catchers?
Dream Catchers.
All right.
Okay. Kai, if you're listening, please call Dream Catchers.
Please.
We were talking about something else on the break. Kim gave us a statistic of violence and abuse, and it vexes my spirit. Kim, what did you tell me?
I said that I read today that 8 transgendered people have been killed in the Woodward 6 Mile Quarter, and nobody has investigated.
Oh, they've got to be investigating. Maybe they just haven't found anything.
I don't think they're investigating.
Did the judge say they got to be investigating? What city you live in, Judge? Where they investigate every crime?
Homicide is homicide. People are people. You don't give less resources because maybe you do or do not agree with the lifestyle. You don't give less resources because of the geographic area. Somebody is investigating. How many did you say?
8
homicides. Somebody's investigating.
I may have to duly disagree with the judge. I think that oftentimes the impoverished community, the communities that have the undesirables, quote unquote, I don't think they're undesirables, but I think oftentimes we hierarchy sin, we hierarchy a lifestyle, and we put our own value system on other people's life, and we investigate and we prioritize based on that.
And I agree totally. I think that they probably are investigating somewhat, but no one has even connected it until recently that has been 8 transgendered people killed. And also, having represented people who live alternative lifestyles and the way they're treated in court, I've had judges ridicule my clients. Like, for instance, my client who was a man transitioning into a woman, the judge and the deputies and the court staff, they've made fun of him in open court.
Somebody should have been grieved.
Well, it wasn't Judge Thomas, was it?
Someone should have been grieved.
I didn't think so. She know Jesus.
Okay. Well, I think discrimination in any way, shape, or form is just intolerable.
Yes.
And for those who have been subject to it more than anybody else, they should know better and they should do better. And to those who have not been subject to it, that is no excuse. And there is a difference. I know when I have individuals in my courtroom for the alternative lifestyle, it's harder to find counseling services. It's harder to find housing. And so individuals who work with that community, live in that community, come on and step up and help out. Because if you're not getting the services that you need, you're paying the tax dollars like everybody else.
Absolutely. There are 2 centers in the city of Detroit. One is called the Sasha Center. The Sasha Center deals with individuals who are in the LBGT community and who are experiencing violence. The other one is Affirmations. That one is in Ferndale, and that center deals with counseling, I do believe. I'm not 100% familiar with these centers, but I did look them up. And the Sasha Center, I have a person, she's going to come on the show, actually, and we're going to talk about her center. And we're going to do a whole show on gay marriages, the LBGT community, and the law behind it, what the church thinks about it. And we're just going to really delve into it. But again, Kim, this phenomena of killing people based on who they're sleeping with, I don't even understand that. I don't even understand how is it your business who I'm sleeping with, and how can your emotion run so deep based on who I'm sleeping with to want to kill me? I might not like your wife. I might not like your husband, your choice of hair color. But does that mean I have the right to take a life? I just want to remind people that there is a judge out there. And for me, his name is Jesus Christ. He is the Son of God. And if you continue to take a life, there is seed time and harvest. You will reap what you sow if you continue to operate in that vein. Kim, would you like to chime in on this?
Yes, I would. I would like to say that based on what I read about the 8 people who were killed, they don't even know if it's a serial killer or if it's an individual killing each and every one. They haven't been able to connect the dots, and they just started really trying to understand what's going on based on the publicity that they've received.
Well, I'm glad they got the publicity. I'm hoping that people will volunteer information. They have that tip line that people can call in. And so they need to call the tip line if they know anything. Those people have friends, they have family members who are hurting because of that loss. And my heart goes out to them. And I hope that seriously we begin to look at into this situation. 8 homicides in one area. It has to be addressed.
It has to be.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you're listening and you know anything about this, I'd like for you to call Crime Stoppers and report it to Crime Stoppers. I'd like for you to call 911 because hate crimes are a crime. And what I also would like to remind the viewers and the listeners, different people have different affinities. We'll go back to lynchings if we allow people who don't like us for external reasons to get away with hurting us. It doesn't matter if it's the color of your skin, if it's your culture. I go back to Donald Trump, who wants to pretty much crucify Muslims. But if we allow people to categorically kill us based on something external, we're moving backwards. We're definitely not moving forwards, particularly someone I'm sleeping with or the gender that I would like to be. We have 3 minutes left, Judge. Go ahead, Kim.
I think that there are only two prejudices left that are allowed by people. One is being overweight, like extremely obese, and the other one is living an alternative lifestyle. I mean, when I'm not saying that they're right. I'm saying people who comment on it or have negative things to say, a lot of people just look the other way because they don't think that, they don't agree with the lifestyle. So if you make a joke about it or you make a slur about it, it's okay with them.
So when you say two prejudices left, you think that those are the only two things that people are discriminating against right now?
Oh, no. I'm saying that those, no, of course not. I'm saying that those
I got a list for you here.
No. I'm saying those two seem to be
most
tolerant.
Right.
More tolerated by the general population.
By the general population.
Yes.
Fat people and gay people, they're highly tolerated?
I think so.
Okay.
Discrimination against them, she said.
Right.
Okay, no, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious.
Like on buying tickets for the airline.
Oh, I was so
Absolutely.
embarrassed. I saw it. I know I've seen it on TV. I was traveling last year. I don't remember where I was going. And they should have sensitivity and diversity training. It was an overweight lady. The staff told her she needed to move. And she had purchased one of the larger seats. And she said she didn't want to move. She purchased the seat. About 2 or 3 staff came. It was an argument. And they're saying, well, you're just too big for the seat. You can't sit here because of the seat belt. And she was humiliated. And I felt sad for her. And it was a young boy who was getting her seat. And he was so excited about the seat. He was maybe 19 or 20 because it was up in the front. And they literally ushered her to the back of the plane as if she was Rosa Parks on the bus and just didn't have a right to be there at that day and time. And she purchased that seat. I was livid about that. I think any form of discrimination at this point shouldn't be tolerated. And I think staff should have diversity training. But we're about to wrap it up. Again, I want to thank 910 Station, 910 AM, the super station. Guys, the station is about to blow up. I'd like to thank Denise Doty Johnson. I'd like to thank Kevin Adele. And I'd like to thank my guest, Judge Deborah Thomas of Third Circuit Court, and Attorney Kimberly Lewis. Thank you for being here. And watch me on channel WADL, channel 38, 11 o'clock, and go to Facebook. Tell me if you want to come on the show. Tell me any questions or comments. Like my Facebook page, Legal Kaleidoscope. Tanisha Reed.